Hello and welcome to my back garden. My name's Alan Thorpe. Some of you may know me as a semi-finalist on this year's Big Allotment Challenge, which was tremendous fun, but a little bit out of my comfort zone for me. So I'm going to retreat for this year to my garden. I'm going to take you through a year in my garden, from preparing the soil through to setting out the seeds, getting seedlings transplanted, getting things into the ground, harvesting the crops. I'll show you what I learned last year whilst I was filming Big Allotment Challenge, what I've learned from years and years of gardening myself, and hopefully it'll be an enjoyable journey where you can enjoy gardening with me, and hopefully you'll pick up a few tips and hints. What I can tell you I will be doing is growing some flowers as well, which is not something I've done previously, but kicking off with the Big Allotment Challenge and growing some flowers last year, I actually quite enjoyed it. I'm sure Jonathan will be very pleased to hear that I'm going to be growing some more this year. What I won't be doing though is cooking things for Thane to taste. Not really my strong suit, is it? So, I'll take you on a tour of the garden. Seems like a good place to start. Okay, kicking off near the house. This is the sort of flower and chilling out part of the garden. There's a couple of great big Bramley apple trees on the left there. A little pond just on the right hand side. Coming up to a couple of flower beds in the middle there. A path leading through an archway through to the vegetable garden, where I have a greenhouse which was bought off eBay for the grand sum of £70 and has proved to be fantastic actually. I put an automatic roof vent in it, but I'll take you through that at some point. Then I have 3 long raised beds which I'll be doing most of the growing in. Those tall poles you can see at the back there are for growing hops. Just spinning around here a little bit here. A bit of lawn. Yes, we've got children, so we do have a trampoline. You can probably see a bit of a cage at the back there if I just zoom in a little bit here. There we are, you can probably just see it behind the trampoline. That's where the chickens live. I'll be showing you a bit more of them at some point. I've got an old shed at the back there, which is where we do the potting up. And of course, no garden with children would be complete without a football goal. Anyway, let's retreat to the potting shed and get growing. So today is March the 1st, which is always a good time to kick off with your garden. I don't know about you, but I like to retreat for the winter when it's a bit too cold. Gardens are to be enjoyed when we're not absolutely freezing, in my opinion. I know there are many manuals that will say you should be out there in the winter digging the beds, putting in manure. I've got this fantastic old gardening encyclopedia actually would say exactly that. But one of the things I learned from doing Big Allotment Challenge is that actually things do catch up. We didn't start filming at Allotment Challenge until the last week of April last year, which I was slightly panicked by, if I'm honest. I thought that was going to be too late, but everything caught up beautifully. So starting on the 1st of March is absolutely fine. St David's Day, daffodils are just coming out, it's time to get growing. And the first thing I want to get moving are potatoes. I don't grow too many potatoes because we haven't got that much space in the back garden, but it's always nice to have a few. And this year I'm going to be growing what is described as a very early potato. The variety is Premier. Fair enough. It's a new one to me, and so that's my sort of first early crop. And my main crop is going to be a traditional, or at least one I've grown many times before, which is Maris Piper. So the first thing to do with potatoes, as you'll have seen Jim say if you watch Big Allotment Challenge, is to, they don't show you this bit, do they? Is to actually get them chitting I said, which means spreading them out so that they can begin to sprout before they actually go in the ground. Now, interestingly, last year, because we started the 21st of April, I didn't have time to put my potatoes out for a month of chitting. So I just put them in the ground and they were absolutely fine. So look, don't panic if you end up being a little bit late on this. They will be fine, but this just gives them a bit of a head start. So let's have a look, see what we've got. Okay, here we are. So look, you can just see there's eyes just beginning to come on these, so they're beginning to get going. And the best thing to use for chitting things is just as an egg box, because you can just sit them with the best looking sprout up, and it just stops the sprouts getting knocked off if you just leave them in an ordinary tray, and they just fall off, and then that's the end of it really. So I'm just literally going to sit these in a tray like that, and then just leave them on the end of the seed bench like this in the light for a couple of weeks, and that should be sufficient should be sufficient to just get them going in time to go out into the ground. First earlies, I'll probably put these in at the end of March, because we're in Berkshire, which is obviously quite southern, and it should be fine by then to put these in and without too much risk of frost. So if I just put those in like that, and literally I'll just leave them like that, and they should be absolutely fine to get going. Let's just take that little bit of paper off there and leave those like that. The main crop potatoes, I can probably just store those a little bit longer like that before I need to start those chitting. So what I'm going to do is just leave those in a fairly dark place. I'll just put them in a cupboard until I get round to getting those going. So that's potatoes. The other crop I really want to get going today is tomatoes. I've got a whole stack of seeds here. Here we are, some of the things we're going to be growing this year. But tomatoes are quite a slow growing crop, and it's a great time of year to get them going. They do need a little bit of heat though, so I'm probably going to put these in the house to keep them going. And I've got 3 different varieties. There was a bit of a sale going on the old garden centre at the end of last year, so I picked up tomato F1 Sweet Million, super sweet cherry type. Cherry types are always good. So March to April, well, we're just into March, so that's great. And I got these kind of crazy ones, which were going for 50p each in the garden centre at the end of last year's sale. And this one is called Pomodoro, which is actually, that's just tomato, isn't it? Marglobe, so we'll give that one a go. I quite like that, quite an attractive looking thing. And I've got these yellow ones as well, which look frankly more like pears. Yellow pear shape, funny enough. So I'm going to give those a crack as well. Now tomatoes, let's just get rid of this lot. Tomatoes. They like a little bit of warmth and individual pots to get them going. So I'm just going to put them in these tiny little pots here, which will be quite sufficient for individual seeds. And I think I'm just going to do today, I think I'll probably, actually I'm going to need some more pots, aren't I? Right, hang on a moment, let's see what we've got over here. Here we are. I'm going to have to put some slightly large pots because that's what I've got, and that's okay. So what I want to do is grow 3 of each of the varieties. So 3 of those, 3 of those, and 1, 2, 3 of those. 3 of those. It's a good time of year as well, actually, because if you get things growing now, that's great. But if they don't grow, you've still got time to get something else going. Excuse me, still a little bit chilly. Now, one of the things that I really did appreciate doing Big Allotment Challenge was I've always sown everything in multi-purpose compost because it's just general purpose, it's relatively good value. They had proper seed compost and it was brilliant. Everything just grew straight away. So I've taken the plunge and bought myself some proper seed compost this year, which is some John Innes stuff. And I'm just going to tip that into a potting tray. If you haven't got one of these, spend £10, that's all they cost. And they're great because you can keep your shed tidy. But all you do is just tip your soil in like that. Got to be careful. There we are. Right, and just tip the soil in like that, and there's no mess. You can literally just pop it in the pot like that, which is fantastic. So I'll just fill up a few of these. There we are. So I'll do the others later. You can hear that noise in the background. That's one of the chickens. We'll start with the cherry type tomatoes. So I'll just show you the seeds out of these. See how many we've got in here. The seeds are absolutely tiny. This camera's quite cunning actually. I can zoom in by just using my iPhone like this, so I can zoom in and show you these seeds. There we are. Let's zoom in on those and tip them out of my hand now. There we are. Can you see those? Tiny little seeds. There we are. Tiny little seeds there. There we are. So that's what we're going to be growing. Just zoom back out. You don't get this on Big Allotment Challenge, do you? Seeing the cameraman at work. And I'm going to put one of these in each pot. Literally just one in each pot. And then if they don't grow, I'll come back and do some more later. Right, I'm just going to cover those in a tiny little bit of soil. My wife and daughter's just arrived with a cup of tea. So I'm going to stop doing this a moment and have my cup of tea. So once I've got 3 like that, I'm going to just put them in a tray like this, and cover it up and put that somewhere warm. It's got to stay around about 15 to 20 degrees, so I'm going to stick them in the greenhouse and see how that goes. If that doesn't work, then they might have to retreat to the house, but I'd better seek some permission first, hadn't I? Anyway, look, I'm going to carry on doing these and I'll be back shortly once I've had my tea. Okay, right, brilliant, good. I've got my cup of tea. There we are, look, appropriately named Head Gardener. About 20 years old, that is, from Fountains Abbey in Yorkshire. And the tea still tastes great. Right, now, one of the things that I've been terribly guilty of over the years is putting things in pots and then not bothering to label them properly, which is fine if you like mystery crops, which I don't really mind, that's okay. But it's quite nice to know what grows well, because then next year you can safely go, okay, I like that, I'll grow that again. Or alternatively, that was absolutely rubbish. Permanent marker, very handy for the job. This one I liberated from Big Allotment Challenge when I finished. They're not going to be needing them this year, are they? So right, there we are. So I've got those in there. So I'm just going to get the seeds for these rather cunning Marglobe tomatoes in play. And then, look at the size of that packet. This is industrial. I could cover the whole garden in tomatoes with the amount of seeds that are in here. And all 50p, honestly, is a great time to pick up seeds in the autumn, because garden centres are just clearing out, ready for next year. And you know, not all seeds will be good in the following year. You don't want to pick up year-old parsnip seeds; they just don't work. But things like tomatoes, you know, it's worth a go, because they're normally quite expensive. So why not buy these things cheaply, give it a go. You can always pick up some plants that have sprouted, but I'm pretty confident these are going to be good. And at that price, for 50p, a whole crop of tomatoes, 50p, it's not bad, is it? Now, just pop those in the with the other ones, and I'll be back shortly to talk about the first set of flowers which we're going to get sowing. Okay, now flowers. I don't know if any of you remember the Beaujolais Nouveau. Do you remember that? The mad rush to bring the first wine of the year back from France, which has invariably tasted horrible, but it was a kind of an event. It was kind of fun. And so in memory of that, I'm going to grow sweet pea Beaujolais. Now I've selected this one because it said guaranteed germination on it, so well, you know, that's always a good sign, isn't it? They're confident enough to put a guarantee on it. And I thought it was quite a nice deep colour. And I grew sweet peas cordon method last year down at the allotment challenge, and they grow really well. So this year I just don't do that at home. I've just dropped the seeds on the floor. So I'm going to be back in a moment, but I've got to go and pick up the seeds, which is slightly embarrassing, isn't it? So, but these things happen. Look, there's enough in the pot to get going, enough in the packet still to get going. So, I can't believe I've just thrown the seeds all over the floor. But you know, these things happen, don't they? The good thing about sweet peas is that you can start off your whole season's worth in just a couple of small pots like this, because once they get, you can just literally spread them around the pot, and once they get growing, you can just tease the roots out separately to plant them out around your canes. So these are the seeds. You can see there, you can see those there. They're quite large, like little peas. So, well, I suppose they would be, wouldn't they? Sweet peas. So I'm just going to pop those in around. I can probably put 5 or 6 of these in a pot, and that should be quite sufficient. Of course, I've got 6 for this pot. The others are all over the floor now, so I'm going to just duck down here and rescue some, which is slightly embarrassing, isn't it? Don't do this at home. But if you're a bit daft like me, you trip over things and you throw them around, that's what you have to do. Okay, here we are. So I've now got another 6 seeds rescued from the shed floor. I'll just spread those around the edge of the pot, and all will be well. So I'm just literally going to just use the end of my finger just to push them under the surface of the soil like that, and a little bit of soil on top like that, and that will be fine. Got a nice label written up already. Stick that in there. It's pretty hard to confuse these with anything else. And that's it really. Stick them in like that, and again, like the tomatoes, they like a little bit of heat to get going. So what I'm going to do is put those in the same tray as the tomatoes, and all of those can go somewhere warm, depending on, it might be the greenhouse, might be the house. So I said, just depending on how my negotiation skills go with my wife, I'll just sneak it in there and just hope she never noticed really. But there we are. Good. So that's all I'm planning to plant on the. No, actually, there's more. There's more. Last year, I came very close to winning, or this year, to film last year, showing this year, the Rudbeckia challenge, Big Allotment Challenge. These are crackers. You put them out, and they just flower and flower and flower all summer. So I thought, well, why not? Let's do it again. I need my glasses on, don't I? Look at that. See that? There we are. So these were really quite easy to grow. So you literally just follow the instructions. So put them in a tray. Let's find a nice little tray for these. I'm only going to grow a few. So I think this one of these will do. Bit of soil in here. There we are. Put that in there. And literally, this is another one of my 50p bargains, by the way. £1.75 normal. Not that I'm a skinflint or anything. It's just that, you know, gardening's a hobby, and there's plenty of other things to spend money on when you've got kids, and you know. So so I'm just gonna tip them out, and the seeds for these are just tiny little things. So literally just sprinkle them across the surface like that. I'll sort of bung them all in. There's only a few, because I'll be splitting those up once they've got going anyway. A little bit of soil over the top like that, and that's it. They're really easy. So yeah, I'm not keeping that seed packet for next time. So in terms of labelling, I can just go in the end like that. There we are. So this whole lot can go in one tray. So there you are. That's the tomatoes, sweet peas and Rudbeckia all in one tray, all smuggled into the house, and in a couple of weeks' time I'll be showing you how they're doing. Right, I think that's enough for starters. Next time I'm going to be preparing the soil outside, because one of the things that I really did learn last year was that it doesn't matter how good you are as a gardener, it's about the quality of the soil that makes all the difference. So I'm going to be fixing up my old Morris, collecting some manure, getting it spread out on the beds there, and I'll be showing you how to make the most of that manure and make sure that you don't accidentally put it in places where you're growing things like parsnips, because they won't like it, whereas lots of other things will. There we are. Have a good week gardening. I'll see you next time.